All right, so you have a couple options for sitting today. You can sit normal, cross-legged. We're going to be there for about 5 minutes. Or working in, since we're working the stomach meridian, and the stomach meridian comes along the shins, you can sit in hero's pose. And then if you want to work a little bit into the knees, you can take a towel and roll it up. We've done this in our other classes before, especially if you've been with Kelly or myself. And you roll that up, and then you're going to place it right behind your knees. And then sit back on that, and if you can't sit all the way back, you can always sit on a block to lift up a little bit. It's just gonna help kind of create a little bit of space between your knees. So you have a couple options for sitting today. I just kind of pulled out, go ahead and settle in. I pulled out a dowel. In yin yoga, they suggest sitting with a dowel 5 minutes a day, different ways. So it's the same idea, but it's a little thinner. And you place it in, it can be a little intense on the calf. So I know for me, I have to sit up a little bit higher. So this is about an inch in diameter, about 2.5 centimeters in diameter. And you sit here for about 5 minutes. It's supposed to help those knee pops and cracks. I've been doing it a little bit. I haven't been doing it consistently, so I don't know exactly. So go ahead and settle in to your space here. And allow your eyes to close. Start to bring yourself into the room, onto your mat, and into your body. Start to scan over the body today, check in. Acknowledging those areas that might be a little tight or tender. Those areas feeling a little sluggish. And then noticing the areas that are feeling a little bit more open, a little bit more energized. Just start to take inventory. Start to settle in. Acknowledging things around you that might become a distraction, and invite them to be part of the practice today. That could include your body and your mind. Take a nice full inhale here, and let it go. Start to check in mentally, emotionally. Acknowledge where you are. It is Thursday, the end of a work week here in Saudi. Just kind of check in. Notice where your thoughts are bouncing around to. Acknowledge them. And see if you can let them go. See if you can allow yourself to focus on your breath and your space right now in the present. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Start to just notice your breath. Notice your body as you breathe. If any intention starts to rise for this practice, allow it to come up. Allow it to settle in the mind, settle into the body with each passing breath. Just allowing yourself to sit here for a few moments in silence. Allowing yourself to drop more into the present moment. Taking a big inhale here. And let it go. Slowly allow those eyes to blink open if they've been closed. And then start to roll yourself forward, coming onto those hands and knees, allowing yourself to stretch out. And from here, we're going to come into the low dragon. So you might want to prop up something underneath your knee, your back knee, or your back shin, depending on how that's going to feel. We're going to start with our right foot forward. And that's just because my cat decided to go to the left. Right foot forward. And then start to drop those hips forward. So again, you might need your blocks here. Your hands are going to come on the inside of that right foot. You're just going to start to drop your hips forward. So we're going to hold each of our poses for about 5 minutes today. And just start to settle in. So it's a little bit more intense at the upper body. See if you can uncurl your back toe and let those hips drop forward. So again, there's a couple options for your back knee. Your back knee can go over the edge of that towel, so just your shin is on it and you drop the hips forward so that your kneecap then is slightly floating. Or you can have that kneecap right there on the blanket and shift forward. And just start to settle in. Find that stillness. Finding your edge. Enjoying the cat's meow. And just check in, notice where the mind goes. So again, this is stimulating that stomach meridian that goes up along the shin, into the top of the thigh and over the hip, and then in toward the navel and toward the stomach. And then as that edge dissipates, so we're settling in for time and stillness, but if that edge disappears, and you want to creep a little bit closer to your edge, you can always drop your chest a little bit further forward. And it's okay to let that right knee kind of drop out to the side, just being mindful that there's no tingling or stabbing sensations. I'm going to keep it into that lengthening part and then try to really relax the legs as much as possible. Your upper body will have some activity here, but you can even try and lessen that a little bit by stacking bones. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly make your way back up to your hands if you're not there already. From here, we're going to shift back into half sallow or half hero's pose. So you might need to bring some props with you toward the back of your mat. You're going to slowly start to shift back. You might need to start sitting up on a blanket, but eventually you're going to sit back with your left leg's going to stay bent, your right leg is going to be extended. So depending on how you're feeling with your knees, you can sit up on anything, you can have a bolster, a cushion, whatever you need underneath. If it tends to be that your ankle, it doesn't have that much flexion for this pose, you can roll up a little bit of a blanket underneath that ankle, so it's going to give it a little bit more flexion. And then you're going to, if you can, eventually you will recline if that's accessible to you, but you might just want to stay here. So if it's accessible, eventually you will start to recline a little. So your recline might be hands back. Your recline might be elbows on a bolster behind you. So it's going to start to get more into the top of the thigh. And again, it's okay if that left knee starts to splay out. Your legs are relaxed. And if it's accessible to you, if it's not putting yourself over your edge, you can recline all the way. And just settle into that stillness. So not only are we targeting that front thigh, you're feeling some sensations in the front of the hip, the top of the thigh, maybe the knee, definitely the ankle. But also a little bit into that low back. We're getting right up there into the low back where the spine and the pelvis meet. And then depending if you're on your elbows, you might feel a little bit in the shoulder joint. And then depending on what type of props you have behind you, your head can always drop back. If that's too much for the neck, keep the chin toward the chest. And just start to settle in. Notice how the breath affects the pose. Notice where the mind wants to wander off to. Allowing yourself to be curious about the sensations happening in the body. And just noticing if you're still at that edge of your sensation. Or can you go a little bit deeper or a little bit less so that you're able to settle deeper into stillness. Just kind of paying attention to what's happening in the belly area. Notice if you notice any sensations there. one more minute here. I'm taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to bring yourself all the way back up. And then from here, you're going to shift your weight forward. Take your props out away from you. Shift yourself forward. We're going to come into pigeon or swan. That left leg, we've warmed it up. You might need a little propping under it, but that left knee is going to slide forward. And then you're going to extend the right leg back. So just coming into swan. And just notice how that feels for the knee. The knee can go out to the side. It could go straight ahead. You can place prop underneath your hip, your left hip, maybe under the right hip, maybe under both hips. And then just start to walk yourself forward, meeting your edge, and then settling in for time. Let your back leg relax. The toe's gonna drop in, the heel's gonna drop out. Again, if you need any padding under that back knee, you can do that. So take this first minute to settle in. Allow yourself to get out any of those wiggles to meet your edge in a safe and comfortable way. And then start to settle in. So again, once you've settled in, maybe you have a bolster under your chest and you can lengthen out over that and relax the shoulders. Or maybe you're stacking those elbows and shoulders again, getting a little tension into the shoulder joint. Trying to relax that muscle energy. Let yourself be heavy here. Getting into those softer tissues, the connective tissues, the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia that surrounds our muscles and ligaments. And then tuning into our breath. Noticing how the breath affects the pose. Maybe how the pose affects the breath. See if you can let your breath take over and allow yourself to feel the pose more. And can you let yourself just drop in a little bit more into the body, into the sensations. If your mind does wander away, acknowledge it. Try not to judge it, but then bring it back so it's focusing on the sensations, the breath, and the present moment. About another minute here. I'm taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Very slowly make your way up to your hands if you're not there already. Very slowly start to tuck that back toe, slide that back knee in, slide the front knee back. And then your choice, you can sit cross-legged, maybe take child's pose, maybe take a little bit of cat-cow, maybe just sit back on your heels again. So whatever's gonna feel best to you, just take a few moments there. Acknowledging the effects of the poses on that side. Taking any movements you need to feel comfortable, to feel reset for the second side. And then when you're ready, start setting up your props, whatever you need for on the second side. So our left foot will be forward. We're going to start in that dragon pose. So our left foot will go forward, our right leg will be back. Our hands will be inside of that left foot. And then uncurl the back toe and start to let those hips drop forward. And you might notice you go a little bit deeper here, just we've already done one side. We've done 3 poses on one side. This side might feel like it's a little bit more open and you're able to go a little deeper faster, but do so mindfully. And start to settle in. And I know for me at the beginning when I'm settling in, it kind of puts a little pressure on my wrist that isn't comfortable, so I like to then make fists and press my fists into the floor. I just find that that helps me stack my bones a little bit better, takes a little pressure off the wrists. And then as I find new edges as time goes on, eventually my elbows can come down to a block or a bolster. See if you can notice where you're gripping in the legs, any muscle tension, see if you can let that go. If you ever notice there's a little pinching sensation or too deep of a compression in your right hip or your hip right or left, it might be that you just need to externally rotate a little bit more and kind of pull the muscles out of the way between the bone and the bone. Sometimes you need to kind of manipulate things out of the way. Might need to move some form of flesh out of the way. Might be deeper tissues, it might be surface tissues. Allowing allow yourself to be curious about those sensations happening. As your mind wanders, bring it back to the sensations, back to your breath. You have about another minute here. And as with any exercise, any activity, if it ever becomes too much, if there's too much sensation, you're always welcome to come out of it early. There's no need for the no pain, no gain mentality. You want to feel good in your body. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to bring yourself back to your hands. Start to shift the weight back. And then from here, you're going to sit back on your heels, keeping that left leg extended, right leg is going to stay bent. And sitting it back. Again, using any props that you need to, either under the ankle, under the shin, under the hips, or behind the back. And just start to work your way back, settling in, finding that edge. Maybe it's to your elbows first, maybe it's just on your hands first, leaning back. And start to settle in there. And again, that right knee can go out as much as it needs to. You do not need to energetically hug it in. If it starts to feel like it's too much pressure on that knee, you always have the option to lift your hips. That's just going to take away some of that angle on the knee, some of that compression. And if you do have a little bit more range of motion and a little bit more edge to go to as you lay back, see if you can just kind of lengthen your tailbone toward your extended leg. Just to find a little bit more space in the low back. And as you settle into that edge, tap into your breath. Allowing yourself to feel your body in the pose. Notice how your breath affects this pose, and vice versa. Continue to keep bringing your mind back to the position you're in, the sensations that are occurring, and to your breath. You have about 1 more minute here. I'm taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Ever so slowly start to bring yourself all the way back up. And then removing any props that might be behind you. Using that bolster if you need, or as a prop under your hip. You're going to start to shift yourself forward, or you can just start to bring that right foot back. Shift it forward. That right knee is going to be forward. Your left leg is going to be back. So bring that right knee forward into swan. Lengthen that left leg back using any props you need to under your hips, under your shin, under your knee. And then start to settle in. Let that back leg grow heavy. Let your chest lengthen forward. Be mindful there's not a lot of tingling or uncomfortable sensations in that front knee. If this side your knee bothers you, you always have reclining pigeon that you can go into. Or you can just prop yourself up enough on bolsters so that there's less of compression in that front knee. And then start to just tune into your breath. So again, depending on how your flexibility is, where your edge is, where you can release the most muscle energy, you can walk your elbows forward, you can keep them under your shoulders, you can lay your chest out over a bolster. Whatever's going to feel best to you. And start to just let yourself drop into that stillness, into those sensations. As you continue bringing your mind back to those sensations. With each passing breath. We have about another minute here. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Very slowly make your way up. Coming out of this pose, whatever's going to feel best. Maybe that back leg comes forward and you find yourself seated, maybe on your heels, maybe on your bum. And just pause there. Taking a moment, allowing yourself to notice the effects of the pose. Taking any movements that feel are needed to allow your body to rebound from those poses. Maybe child's pose, maybe a little cat-cow. And then from here, we're going to transition to our bellies. And this is, you're going to need your roll, your blanket here, your towel, whatever you have. And you're going to take that and you're going to roll it into a roll. And it just depends on how sensitive your belly is here. Because you're going to lay on this bowl, on this roll, you're going to lay on it so that fleshy part of your belly, so between your hip bones and your ribs, that's where you want it to lay. So that fleshy part of your belly is going to lay right over that roll. It's going to definitely stimulate all those organs, especially your stomach, right in there. So laying down onto that, it may take a little trial and error to find something that works well for you. There's definitely going to be sensation. It's definitely not going to be the most comfortable sensation. If you want less sensation, stay up on your elbows, kind of like Sphinx pose. More sensation, maybe you lay a bolster down, maybe you lay your head down, your head rests on your forearms or a blanket or a pillow. See if you can keep your spine long here rather than turning your head to one side. See if you can keep your head neutral. And then just kind of notice the effects. Notice the sensations. And then we're going to take 10 deep breaths. So as you inhale, you're going to push your belly into the bolster. And then as you exhale, you're going to let that blanket start to sink into your body. Just take 10 full deep breaths there on your own pace, nice and slow. Let your legs and belly be heavy. Just being very curious about those sensations happening in the belly. We tend to hold a lot of worry and anger in our guts, especially in our stomach. So this might start to bring some of those things to light. See if you can literally breathe through them. Once you've gotten to 10, and if you stopped counting, do 3 more. Once you've gotten to 10, just let your breath be normal. Be curious about that sensation that's happening in the belly. Maybe you can allow your upper body to relax a little bit more forward. And just notice what happens with the mind when you have an uncomfortable situation or sensation. So this isn't the most comfortable sensation that's happening, but it shouldn't be painful. Just kind of notice how your mind wants to escape it, your body wants to escape by fidgeting. Just see if you can settle in and really become curious more and more about where you're feeling those different sensations. I know for me, it's very interesting for me to be able to feel my heartbeat or that pumping down into my belly. We have about 1 more minute here. And taking a full inhale here. Let it go. Slowly start to make yourself back up onto your elbows. Tuck the toes, press those hips back. Come into child's pose or tabletop, whatever's going to be best for you. Maybe child's pose and you can rest your head on that roll. Rest your arms on the roll. And let the belly be free. Maybe make the legs a little bit wider. And just notice the rebound of your body being able to allow your belly to expand and contract without any pressure. Letting those organs come back into place. Slowly and mindfully make your way all the way back up. Pause there for a moment. And so now we're going to do a similar action over the roll, but on our side waist. So again, it's going to be between your hip bone and your ribs. If you have a shorter waist like me, it's harder to find. And again, depending on how much sensation you want, you can leave the roll kind of like it is. I'm going to go just for a little bit deeper fold. So I'm going to fold my blanket again. So just going to give me a little bit more lift. And I'm going to start with my right side waist on it. So you're going to lay right next to it. And as you lay over that, you're going to lay over it so that your hip bone is on one end. And then hopefully your space between that and your ribs rolls over. Your ribs will be on the top edge. So you're on your side, laying down. You might need a pillow or something for your head. We're going to relax all the way down. As you relax down, that bottom arm can be your pillow. Maybe you actually have a pillow under your head. But kind of adjust yourself here, finding that place between your hip and your ribs, and then settle in. Now we're constricting everything that's over there on the right side, and we're letting the left side open up. And if it's comfortable for your shoulders, you're going to take that top arm, maybe that top arm reaches over your head. Maybe you just bend your elbow and you kind of let your elbow rest on your head, if that feels okay. And it's kind of nice to let that elbow come right over, or your upper arm come over your ear, kind of lets you kind of drop in a little bit more into those sensations of your body. And again, breathing deep here for about 5 or 6 breaths. Just kind of notice those sensations. And then let your breathing come back to normal. On those big breaths, really feeling that left side expand. On those exhales, feeling that right side. Draw a little bit closer toward one another, trying to over the bolster. Letting that bolster blanket push up between your ribs and your hip bone. Compressing those organs on that side. In this pose, on the right side and the left side, the 2 organs we're targeting are the liver and the stomach. Both aid in our digestion, so both being stimulated is a good thing to help aid that digestion, to help us be able to digest and bring into our body all that we eat, all that we drink, to help nourish and sustain our body, to allow us to do all the wonderful things that we like to do, like yoga. Letting over this roll kind of targets the spine as well. So putting that spine in a little bit of a compression on the right side. A little bit more extension on the lateral extension on that left side. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Taking that top arm that's overhead, if it is, bring it back to the side waist. And then roll yourself toward the right, so rolling into that left hand, pressing yourself up sideways. Pausing there for a moment. So you can sit cross-legged, you can sit up for a moment, just noticing the effects. And then for your practice, all you have to do is kind of turn yourself around. Instead of me showing you my back side, I'm just going to switch my bolster over to the left side. So when you're ready, you can lay down onto that left side, no rush. Gathering any props that you need to on that side. And start to settle in. Noticing there might be some differences on this side compared to the other side. Using that bottom arm as a pillow, or actually having a pillow. I'm kind of noticing the benefits of having a home practice, especially for yin. You have many more options for props. And then once you're there, that top shoulder, if it feels okay, maybe that top arm can reach up. Maybe just bend your elbow and rest that arm on your head. Or for deeper opening, maybe that arm extends overhead toward the floor. But again, be mindful of that shoulder, no pinching. No numbness in the hand. And then take 5 or 6 deep breaths, really opening up into that right side. And then after those deep breaths, just let your breathing come back to normal. And if your mind has wandered, bring it back to that sensation. A little bit of compression on the left side, that extension on the right side. And can you tune in and be a little more curious to what's happening inside the body, inside the abdomen? Can you feel any subtle shifts? have a little less than a minute here. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Taking that top arm, bring it down to the ribs again. And then rolling into that right hand, extend the right leg, press yourself up. Come all the way up to seated for a moment. Pause there, just notice the effects of that pose. And we're gonna make our way onto our back. So lay down onto your back, bring your little blanket with you again, or your towel. Lay down onto your back. Take any shape you'd like to for a moment there. Pause in. Maybe even just taking your hand too and placing it in your lower right side of your abdomen and just kind of go up toward the upper right, over to the left, and down to the left. Just making a circle around your belly between your ribs and your hip bone and just kind of notice that sensation. You can press as light or as deep as you'd like. Just kind of checking in there, letting those organs settle back into place. And then from here, we're going to go into a twist. So having that blanket, the twist is going to press again into your abdomen. So depending on how much you would like, you can use a little bit of a roll, a bigger roll. We're going to twist to the left first. So you're going to extend your left leg long. You're going to place that blanket right above your hip bone, between your hip bone and your ribs at an angle. And then you're going to draw your right knee toward your chest. So you're going to start to feel that pressure into your abdomen. So you're going to place it right across your belly, start to draw your right knee in. And this might be fine for you. Maybe this is your twist today. If you can, maybe start to drop your knee over. And you can place your knee on a block. You can place your shin on a block. But try to keep hugging that knee in with your left hand or your right hand. So you have that blanket right across your belly, so there's that compression. But then you're also having a little bit of a twist in the spine. So there's always people talking about how twists detoxify you and are good for digestion. Kinda. The pressure is definitely going to bring new blood for you, so it's going to pull out any stagnant blood in that area. New blood's going to come in, so any of the toxins that are in that blood are going to eventually leave your body. But it can aid with digestion by twisting and moving things around to help loosen anything that might be in the intestines, the small and the large. Breathing into this here. We won't be here too long of the time in this twist. It's not as relaxing. Just about another minute here. See if you can continue to breathe into that prop that you have between your thigh and your belly. Because if you change your breathing into just your upper body, you're kind of avoiding the pose. Another few cycles of breath here. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to bring yourself out of that twist. Bend both knees, pause there for a moment. If it feels better to extend both legs, you can do that. Just pause for a moment, noticing the effects on that right side. And then readjust your prop. You're going to place that over onto the left side. So bend your left knee. You're going to place that blanket kind of at an angle there between the hip bone and the ribs down toward the pubic bone. And then keep that right leg long. Start to bend the left knee into the chest. Just kind of grab onto the knee or the thigh. Notice how this feels. And if it feels okay, start to continue with that twist, drawing that left leg across the body, maybe propping that leg up on a block or a pillow. But keeping that blanket right there into the abdomen and breathing into it here. See if you can keep your right hand on your left thigh or knee. And then maybe that left arm extends out, finding a little bit more of a twist. And I just noticed with this one, sometimes it feels better to keep my knee a little bit higher so I can keep that pressure in the right spot in my belly. And just notice if you're holding any energy, any pressing with that bottom right leg. See if you can relax it. We have about 1 more minute here. Take a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to unwind out of that twist. Allowing both knees to bend at the beginning. And then if it feels better to straighten out the legs, let those legs extend. And then taking any final movements that you need to for Shavasana, maybe a little happy baby, maybe wiper legs. And it might feel even good to take that blanket and unwind it and place it over your belly from your ribs down, maybe past your pelvis into your thighs, just for a little bit of weight in that area. Using any props you need to allow yourself to start to come out into Shavasana. Allowing yourself to settle into whatever best pose suits you today. Maybe take a few cleansing breaths, letting yourself just surrender here into this final resting position. Allowing your body and your mind to settle into stillness as we have been into the practice previous. And then let your breathing come back to normal. Allow yourself to stay with your body as your body and mind take rest. I'll bring us out of Shavasana with 3 bells. Enjoy Shavasana. And since you are at home, and if you feel like you need to restore a little bit more, please stay here. If you're ready to end, go ahead and bring some movement into the fingers and toes, the wrists and ankles. Start to deepen the breath and maybe take the arms back overhead, slide the feet together, lengthen from toes to fingers. And then bending the knees, maybe hugging the knees in or doing some windshield wiper legs, whatever's going to feel best in your body here. When you're ready, using your arm as a pillow, roll over to your favorite side, pausing there. And then when you're ready, mindfully pressing yourself up. Coming all the way back up. Find a comfortable seat and let the eyes close. Allowing yourself to be in the room, on your mat, and in your body. Noticing the sensations of the body, the shifts, the changes. And allow your hands to come to your heart center. We'll take a moment in this practice with a cleansing breath, the sigh out the mouth. Exhale fully here. Inhaling fully. The end of that sigh. Let your head bow down slightly. Taking a moment, think of one thing in your life that you truly are grateful for. And then hold on to that image in your mind's eye as you raise your head with a smile. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Drink lots of water, eat your veggies, wear sunblock. Namaste.